Hey everyone, Alan Reyes here with Seduction MMA, the ultimate hybrid pickup artist system. I'm going to skip long introductions as to who I am or what you'll be learning in this course in depth. You probably already checked out my website and read the marketing. Suffice to say, and quickly, I am one of the original 4 or 5 pickup gurus from the seduction community from around 1999. One of the first innovators in the field. I was around when the community was around 100 people total. Now it's 40,000 at the last estimates I heard. I've seen every pickup method and technique ever written. I've tested every technique and tactic and strategy at length. I've studied every pickup artist and pickup guru of any renown, and have met guys in the field from gurus to forum posters to site operators. I've been on Stupid World's Best Pickup Artists lists. I've trained current pickup gurus in their early days. I know my shit. This is my job, and you really did buy the right materials here. If you want to be as cutting edge and on top of things as possible, this is where you need to be. If you want to get unconfused and have a coherent system you can train in field, you got the right course. If this is your first purchase and first study in the pickup community, you've just saved yourself a lot of money and a lot of trying to wrap your head around concepts and techniques and put them in a system you can actually apply. You won't have to go through 50 systems and methods and deal with overlap of concepts. I've done all that. I've done my job. This course for picking up women is like mixed martial arts or MMA is to fighting. It is a hybrid of my own strong inner game to outer game, day game based materials, and other outer game and club game materials that I've extensively field tested and worked into a system with no guesswork. You know exactly what to apply and when. You know what to train and get good at, techniques and tactics wise. You'll be able to make a strong effort with a good chance of success on any woman you see that you desire in any venue, in any time, and under any circumstance, and have a better chance of success than you would with any other system of pickup. Basically, welcome to 2013. What I did in the early community in 2001 times for taking the game to the next level that made me an early guru and an early popular guy is what I'm about to do for the game and community in 2013 with Seduction MMA. What you're about to get is brand new concepts, new systems of training, and new methods of learning, mixed with the best of the old school that always worked, combined together in a master level course with the new stuff. If you're advanced, I'm about to take your game up a couple notches. If you're a beginner, I'm going to totally unclog you and get your socially conditioned brain changed. If you're an intermediate, I'm about to unconfuse you and get you doing well in field instead of playing a numbers game and not knowing when to apply the right materials. The confusion I just talked about is easily explained. Conceptual frameworks, or models of how things work, or a way of seeing your reality within a context. Too much of the game is cluttered with these conceptual frameworks that aren't based in real science and ignore basic flowing logic of one technique to the next. In fact, the word logic is a bad word in the pickup community as some weird cult brainwashing thing. It's like logic's for nerds who don't get laid and women don't use logic. It's like a weird mantra that has made many a student and guru try to be an artist in situations when they can be an engineer. You need to understand the base concepts, the base most current concepts possible, then work them in the proper way for them to become automatic. Then move on to the next concept, so eventually you are a free-flowing user of the techniques naturally. I avoid these conceptual frameworks, basing what I teach solely on scientific data and facts. And where that's absent, repeated over and over, hundreds and thousands of times experiencing it. I use these two things as much as possible in this course in order to deliver as much as possible based on the science behind the psychological principles that I can then explain inside of techniques that you can work in field. For example, a bad conceptual framework is the old 3-second rule in the pickup community by Mystery. You don't have to approach within 3 seconds. If you've read that places, it's fucking junk psychology. If you did any base missions of any kind from my materials or anyone else's, or if you're old in the game, you know this doesn't matter. As long as you don't stare and make a woman uncomfortable, or don't freeze up and get inside your own head and refuse to approach, there's no validity to this. This was purely Mystery's own experience, saying, if I don't approach within 3 seconds, I get nervous, then the girls think I'm creepy. They do, you too. That type of thing. So his concept became part of his framework. And now we have a stupid, invalid rule based on junk psychology instead of science. Or some other guys, the opposite end of that spectrum, will say, you have to have an approach invitation before you walk up to a woman. As in, she has to give you the, hey, come over here eyes. She has to stare at you before you ever talk to her. Or, oh my God, she controls the social frame forever, and you're a loser with no status. Also junk science, and also only relevant inside a conceptual framework that she bases all of her attraction on having more or less value than you, via you approaching her first. That assumes that she only uses social frame for her basis of attraction and arousal. We will get into the exact neuroscience of that in the attraction section that says no one does this. The amygdala, which is responsible in the limbic system in the brain for interpreting stimulus, doesn't function that way. Who talked to who first would go into the more intellectual thought process than into the unconscious memory of sexual association of any significance. Or, in simple terms, her unconscious doesn't remember the specific action someone takes that she fucks. It only remembers who she is supposed to fuck, and sends that sort of information out as stimulus that gets interpreted as one of the factors in the attraction sphere. The unconscious is the Hulk, not Professor X. In simple terms, her brain says, he talk and move like someone I fuck, store as +1 of +10 for attraction, and shoots that off to the amygdala, which then sends it out as a thought of, this guy's kind of cute, maybe it's because his jeans are the same ones that some other guy wore, blah, 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 blah. Okay, it doesn't send it out as, he approached first, and I don't fuck guys who approach first, because that means they are of lesser social value. No, that is not how it works. That is, again, a stupid conceptual framework. Most in the pickup community especially take it a step further and actually give her unconscious and her decision-making process a very logical professor-type voice, instead of the fact that it's basically just a dumb, barely judgmental, surely not intellectual caveman almost. And that's just two concepts. So you can see things are much less complicated than many make them out to be, yet also a lot more complicated in many aspects than their conceptual frameworks. Models of reality or systems and methods sometimes make them out to be. For example, outside of a conceptual framework, outside of theory, is the fact that, neurologically speaking, most of what you first say when you approach won't be processed. Unless she's already paying attention to you, she's not going to really understand what you're saying. So your opener is pretty much just deer in the headlights. She has no idea why you're even talking to her. She's thinking, not listening. This blows a lot of the 3-second rule out of the water right there and caters to the approach invitation concept. However, experience and common sense, along with neurological factors, destroy the approach invitation concept as well. In this audio, you'll get as much logical sequence and science as possible. In this audio, you will get as little conceptual framework as possible. This is why the metaphor holds. You're about to learn seduction MMA, not seduction karate. This audio is broken into several sections for a reason. Explaining the game isn't any more linear than applying it. You may go from an approach to a lay or an approach to a phone number. So it's broken down into sections that are most relevant to one another. This keeps overlap from happening, and also keeps the course from being 12 hours long. You're welcome on that one. I've been at this ages. I've wrote original materials way back. You might get a few things overlapping that other gurus you may have read stole from me. So don't freak out and think you know it all. I guarantee you don't know several of the techniques and structures in this course because I've never written them anyplace. There's also a lot of new material here. Two caveats. Don't listen to this all at once. Listen when you're fresh and you've woken up and not mentally strained all day. You don't have to put it all together yourself and retain it all. You just need to understand the concepts. I then put it together for you later. The audio are the length they are and the length that they need to be, because if you listen to all of this in one sitting, the last half will be lost on you. That's why it isn't all one continuous block of audio. While I don't get as woo-woo and inner mental focus, mental masturbation as many people, some of the stuff can be hard to grasp for a tired or overworked mind. And even more so for a bored mind of listening to the same guy talk or reading the same book for 4 hours. Start off enjoying this stuff so you end up enjoying the game as a hobby also, not as some kind of a task. And also, please, if you come to a word you don't understand, look it up before moving on. If not, you'll start tuning me out. There are some scientific terms in this course that you won't understand, but then will be explained. But for the example, for example, if you came across the word neurology and didn't know what that was, look it up. Consider this a study course with a training method attached. Not something to listen to and get great epiphanies from and go, oh wow, that's the magic key I needed. Thank you, Gunny. Then run off to the field and not fully understand things, and then you'll be back at square one in a month. Instead, make sure you fully understand everything I talk about. Don't skim over things for a single word that you misunderstood. And another thing you might run into here that could be a problem is you'll come across times I give examples of things to say, and being as this is audio, it's one of the few disadvantages that audio has, and that print has one advantage over, is that you can put italics for an example of something to say, and whereas in audio, when I'm giving you a direct specific example of something to say to a woman, I have to put on a different voice to do that. I have to say, and then you would say, and then you would say, blah, 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 instead of saying, and then you would say, blah, 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 because it can just run right over into my natural tonality. So a lot of guys will, in materials like this, they'll mimic the person's voice when they're doing it in field. Which isn't good. You don't want to be mimicking my example voice when you're doing it in field. Or all of a sudden she detects that, whoa, he's talking weird all of a sudden, different from his normal voice. You have to practice doing this stuff in your own natural normal voice in a matter-of-fact, casual way. Just like I'm talking right now, in a matter-of-fact, casual, normal way is how you would say something that you want to, you don't mimic that voice even. You use your own matter-of-fact cadence and rate of speech. You don't sit there and copy mine and go, oh, well, he's the pickup guru. He knows all this stuff. He's really good. I'll copy his voice and exactly how he sounds. There is no really effective tonality unless I'm specifically telling you, use this tonality. Don't bother to even think about your tonality. It's not really worthwhile in delivering techniques. And especially, like I said, don't mimic me because I'm using a different voice than I would even use in field. Because I'm trying to get it across to you that I've now started to give you an example by changing my voice. Whereas, like I said, in print, it would just be italics. So, anyway, make sure you understand everything I talk about. And, don't listen to this all at once in one big block, or you'll be falling asleep at the end of it and won't understand stuff. And also, don't use my example voice as your tonality in field. So let's get going with this and get you started with universal understandings.